All right, good morning, people of YouTube. So we are back again today with another video. This time it will be our first Pokemon VGC video on the channel. So this is going to be our Series 2 team that we are going to be starting off the season with on the ranked battle spot ladder. I used a rendition of this team in Series 1 to climb to Master Ball tier twice. The only change was the Iron Hands was a pawmot. So we'll go ahead and share that rental team at the end of the video if you want to try to use this team to climb for the remainder of Series 1. It's a very easy team to climb the ladder with to get to Master Ball tier, so you can get those sweet golden bottle caps, things of that nature. But the main gimmick behind this team, right, we have a snow mode with Abomasnow, Say Titan, and Rotom Heat with 8 Ice Terra type. So this allows us to play a massive defensive game. Behind Aurora Veil with Assault Vest, Say Titan is really bulky. We built our Abomasnow with max HP, so it's also very bulky. Firing off big blizzards is something that your opponent doesn't really want to deal with and can often force a Terra type by itself, allowing your other teammates to kind of pick up the slack in the rest of the game. Because if a Hydreigon has to go for a Steel or Fire Terra type just to deal with the Abomasnow, you're kind of in a good position because you can kind of dunk on it with the rest of your team. And if you were in Series 1, I would just Revival Blessing in scenarios like that because Pawmot is still really broken. But Rotom is really nice. With the Ice Terra type, you are able to defensively Terra into an Ice type, which is not something you would picture people saying, using Ice as a defensive type. But with the defense buff from Snow, this Rotom gets very bulky. It's kind of nice being able to just shrug off Dragon Claws from things like Garchomp in the snow, and it's just a very good mon. With the Choice Scarf, with the Terra Blast, Overheat, and Thunderbolt, you are able to dunk on a lot of things pretty unexpectedly. Um, you know, Choice Scarf Overheat is always good into things like Goldango, but if you see yourself facing up against a like strong Dragon type or a strong Flying type, things of that nature, I found Terra Ice to be very, very key in moments like that. You also have the Terra Blast from, say, Titan as a fire type. Having the ice, water, and fire coverage from, say, Titan, as well as the electric, ice, and fire coverage from Rotom, gives you massive flexibility in your leads, as well as a very fast mode to kind of go into and start applying pressure immediately. The other mode for this team is going to be the Garchomp Earthworm mode with the Rotom support. So the Rotom also has Discharge, and the Garchomp has Earthquake. So yes, we are bringing back 2010 strats. Disquake Baby will go into your opponent's entire board, deal massive spread damage. You just got to be careful of things like Wide Guard, right? The Earthworm is something that I haven't touched on that much yet. It's the member of the team that you bring the least. However, whenever you do bring it, it can single-handedly win you entire sets. Getting a Shed Tail in key moments and then coming back in and doing things like Helping Hand to boost your massive offensive threat while sitting behind a sub is very strong. You can also get into situations where you can heal it back up with the Earth Eater by spamming Earthquakes with the Garchomp. And then get another Shed Tail switch in. And then you can have things like Rotom and Garchomp both sitting behind subs, both spamming Disquake, and it's just kind of annoying for your opponent to deal with. Not a lot of things can break through it. So the Iron Hands also is on this team. The Pawmot was on it originally. You know, Revival Blessing is cool. Fake Out is really good. And then just strong stab moves with a good Terra Electric type kind of made it so this team had double electric, which forced Dondozos to Terra, as well as the Abomasnow. It made it so that on paper, this team looked like it kind of lost to Abomasnow, but in practice, you kind of force them into an early Terra with something else and then dunk on the Dondozo, or you force the Dondozo to Terra turn 1, and then you can kind of fake out cycle, set up your subs, and deal with it that way. with the massive amount of coverage, their Terra can't cover for everything. So in practice, I feel like this team's biggest weakness is going to be the Armarouge, Indeedee, and Palafin team, specifically that variant. So just regular Indeedee Armarouge Trick Room shenanigans, this team deals with pretty well. What this team doesn't deal with is the weak Armarouge set with the flip turn from Palafin to trigger the weakness policy and the speed increase. And the Iron Hands, in theory, should help with that. I haven't really tested it that much into it since adding the Iron Hands over the pawmot, but when this team had the pawmot, that was the team that I had the lowest win percentage against. Other than that, your matchups are pretty solid. Like, this team beats Dozo, it beats Sun, it beats Lycanroc, T-Tar, because T-Tar, if it wants to Terra type into flying, it just gets dunked by your strong ice moves. And their sand is not as good as your snow. This team, yeah, I would say Rain and Armarouge with specifically Indeedee and Palafin. Sometimes the U-turn Hydreigon, you'll see on teams like that as well. But Rain and specifically that core are this team's biggest weakness. But other than that, as long as you lead correctly, you are pretty good into a majority of the format. And with this team having like two main modes in both the Snow and the Garchomp Earthworm, you have a lot of different ways you can lead, right? So you can lead with Earthworm with your sweeper in the back, next to Fake Out. You can also lead, say, Titan Earthworm. That's a really fun lead that I found, because in that position, you can immediately either switch the Earthworm out into the Abomasnow, or if they have a relatively slow lead, you can get the Shed Tail, switch the Earthworm out, and then trigger the speed boost with the Say Titan, and then get the strong hits that way. So, Earthworm isn't the fastest, but Helping Hand does help compensate for some of this team's lack of being able to boost your stats. Aside from the Iron Hands having Sword Stance and the booster energy, Life Orb really helps on Garchomp as well. But yeah, the Helping Hand from the Earthworm also helps get key damage in clutch moments. But yeah, this is a team with a lot of flexibility, a lot of offensive coverage. You have a lot of really good type synergy, so you get good defensive switches. This is a team that, as long as you play even halfway decently, you should be able to win a lot of games on the ladder. And it's a lot of fun. People don't play Snow as much as they should, and I don't see anybody aside from like one of the first teams that Wolf used feature Earthworm. So this is a team that I've had a lot of fun with, and I've won a lot of games with, enough to get me a fair amount of bottle caps getting to Master Ball tier. That's been pretty fun. Once we get the capture card and the new laptop, we will actually start grinding out some games and show you guys what this team can do, as well as some of the other ones that I have coming for you. But yeah, stick around and we will